All right, Jayson, take it away.
Cool. I made an application called TiltProof, and it is using the League of Legends API to get all of your recent matches and a lot of the data from the back end. And Riot makes it really complicated. So I'm going to give a little tour, and then I'm going to show the creation process of accounts and all of that good stuff. But so basic startup is it goes, shows you if you won or lost based on CSS color, gives both sides kills, death, assist, name of player and what position they were in the game, and it goes on for a while. And right now, it is just simply single user based application. At the moment, this is fetched from a different API to get all of the pictures set up and centered. And, yeah, that's really the basics of it. But yeah, I'm going to kill this one and get into the back end of it because that's where I actually spent basically the entire project. So, oh no. Admin, custom user, kill it, go, run server. Thank you. I'll go. Admin. Okay, that's why. It's because I can only have one person logged on at a time. All right, so we are going to kill every single user, confirm it, go back to localhost, sign out, and sign up. All right, so we're going to use my account and Jayson@jayson.com. That's been my go-to. Summoner name, NA, and now they're contacting Riot, and it's updating my last 3 accounts. The API calls on this are actually pretty lengthy, so I limited it to 3 just so that the user isn't experiencing a lot of latency on their first login. And now it pops up with 3. There's a background function that runs on this that is the database updating, and that is done by querying every single user and then going through their entire list the exact same way it was before, but I keep that on the back end. That way it has no user latency and it's just unseen. The only downside is the user only has 3 matches for the first 24 hours prior to it being ran. And I think that goes over the majority of it. We do have it posted on Heroku whenever it wakes up. It just wants. So this happening right here is considered a background worker on Heroku. I actually recently found out while this is going, I could poke around the website and go to different pages of it, and this will still load. So that is just an issue that I have with Heroku. But this is the basic application that I have on Heroku, still live, and I have had multiple users log into it, and it's successful with a lot of edge cases. I think that's really the gist of it. If anyone has any questions.
Can you talk about how you had to set up your models?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my models are set up with so each of these participants is actually one of each of these blocks right here is one participant, and all of them have their own data. So each of them is a foreign key related to the match that has its summoner, its team, its win condition. If it's the player to influence other aspects of it, and then there's also a user participant, and this is the one that decides if this is green, blue, and it's going to bring up all of the stats that you personally did. And right in my views, this part I'm most proud of is it started off with just a list of objects, and now it's just filtering through a for loop just to create every single participant within it. And yeah, I think this was my favorite part. I just learned a lot about actually how to pass data through Python, because for some reason the concept of passing an integer and a string were pretty explanatory to me, but now that I'm passing through an object, it kind of just opened up my eyes to how to just use different forms of data that are actually more tangible on an actual project going on. And also, I had a lot of try and accept errors just due to the complexity of all of the API calls that are going on. And I learned a way to have an index error try and accept give me the end of a list instead of having to do like a for range of list. It just finds it itself. So yeah, it's still going. The way this works is it goes through every single request, shooting a new one to the database, and then at 40 it takes a small sleep not to max out all of its API calls, and then goes through it all over again. Yeah.
Can you show what happens if an unauthorized user
I
tries to
didn't
do
get
that?
Gandalf working, but yes, I can. So yeah, I just have a "you're not supposed to be here" request just as like a backend filter to it, simply because the permissions required tag that you can put on these views just isn't great if anyone decides to use it. So if you do a if not logged in .is super user request, that will actually be an authentication that you can run on any part of Django, and that'll be your super user filtering you can throw onto it if anyone's struggling with that. Yeah. The custom user model was pretty self-explanatory. Once you follow the Django description, all you do is create a custom user field, add it to your admin, change everything to create custom user model, and then you can just add to it with abstract user.
I think you're the first person I've ever heard say custom users aren't a pain.
Once you get it working, it's really nice. Once you get it working, the one thing I've noticed about it is when you list display extra things, Django isn't a big fan of it. So that's the only downside of the custom user model that I did, is if we go to admin and then users, these still just look like the generic user group. Like, there's nothing special about it. There was nothing pushed to the admin panel, and that's the only negative thing about the custom user like method that I used.
What are your future plans for the app?
Future plans is, well, I just reset it so I can show you. Step one to build upon this is put a second nav bar right here, center these more, and then give it a filtering function, so that way you can filter by how your stats were. In League of Legends, there's a position that you can play, and there are 5 of them. I want to compare my position against my opponent's position and who they played, and be like, okay, so I played against this dude and I really won compared to him. So like, what happened that game? And it's made to be a statistical analyzer, so that way I can go in here and be like, okay, I'm playing really bad with this one champion. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And I'll realize that like right now I've been playing a lot of Olaf. Well, I did really good against this Udyr, and this Olaf, and I did really bad against this Kindred, like really bad. So I could use those stats just to see if it was just like a one-off that that person was really good, or if I just really need to learn what I'm doing wrong against this matchup. That's the next big step. the last step is just be able to post these matches with the video link included with it, and then have it be commentable amongst all the users. That's the very long end goal. Yeah. Any more questions?
Nice, dude. It looks good.
Thanks.
Good job, man.
I learned how to use CSS with it.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason's definitely more of a back end guy. He would always ask me questions about like the command line and like how do you do this in Vim or like things like that. So I'm proud of the CSS here. It's good.
Hey, I even like you should be most proud of this, man. I just threw that little JavaScript right in there. Just really made it fancy. Yeah. Ooh, buddy.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool, man. All right. Well, thank you, Jayson. Yeah, round of applause. Thanks. Who wants to go next? Damien, Fawad? Anyone want to volunteer?
I can go next.
Awesome. All right. Take it away, man.
All right. So first, I'm just going to bring up my code here just to kind of get you a little idea of where I started and kind of what I'm working with here. So I'm a manager for equipment rental company. So renting construction equipment, things like that, stuff for homeowners, contractors, business owners. And part of the problem we have is almost all of our traffic that we get is over the phone or walk-ins. And when you're trying to answer phones and deal with customers coming in the door, being able to get people the equipment in a timely fashion sometimes can be a little bit hectic, especially, you know, spring, summertime when everybody's trying to get their lawns looking good, or, you know, new projects are, you know, opening up. So I wanted to create some kind of website where people can go to check pricing, check availability of equipment, and then potentially in the long run actually have a website they can log into that's associated with the local business and say, hey, I need this piece of equipment at my job site, and I don't want to have to call in, ask for pricing, ask for availability, and kind of go through that whole rigmarole. So that's kind of where I was heading towards. So, you know, to start, my project name is JobXite with an X. So, you know, I want to have it to where, you know, empowers people to be able to, you know, make the reservations online, get their own equipment when they want it, and be able to set up deliveries, pickups, and those types of deals. You know, I set up a big task list for me to do and did not follow it as close to a T as I would like to, but, you know, it was a good place to kind of, you know, write things down and, you know, make me plan for the future. So this is kind of the timeline I was looking for. You know, we had about, you know, 3-4 weeks to do this. Originally, I was planning on doing a Vue front end with a Django back end, but I kind of got on a roll with Django, and I didn't want to do another reset just to get a new front end. So I wanted to get a, you know, I had my wheel and jump to a, you know, a bike, and, you know, it still wasn't quite to my car, but I didn't want to go back. So kind of stuck with the Django back end and front end. And some of the things you'll see that are, you know, on this, I didn't quite get to, like keyword sorting and some of the equipment detail views. But generally speaking, was able to get through most of the deals here. And then I also have some future implementations that I want to do. So now I'll bring up the actual website itself. So this is the one that Pete helped me get up on Tuesday to Heroku. Now, I didn't want to break it, so I ended up doing some more work on it this week. And I have that one locally hosted or locally served. But so generally speaking, people come to the website, and right now it's just a landing page. Planning on changing that up a little bit to kind of make it more commercial, show the equipment, maybe some kind of testimonies for people who are actually coming to the site. So that's just going to be the standard homepage. Now, this is the, like I said, this is the hard-coded version that I posted to Heroku. So this is just a general, list of a bunch of the same, duplicated div with all the information here. But it does have just rent me. It doesn't actually have pricing or availability. And this was just something I was doing as far as trying to think about ways to bring up equipment information in a modal, which I hadn't got to quite yet, but it was messing with it a little bit. And then the same thing goes for the equipment sales. So if people are looking to buy equipment, they can go here and look at the pricing, availability. And then I have our contact form. And most all this is actually Bulma CSS for the CSS framework. But have information in here. So if people are just looking to, possibly are an outside vendor and want to sell some things on our website, or, they have a sales inquiry on a piece of equipment, they can do it through here. And tell you whether or not they're a current customer and things like that. So you can actually find them in your system without having to, dig through 1,000 different things. And so the registration just uses the same standard user login information, as well as the login form. I didn't really mess too much with anything, any of the abstract users or anything like that. But now when you do log in, now if you go back to your rentals, it'll actually show your daily, weekly, and monthly prices for equipment. And likewise, in your equipment sales, it'll show the actual price of the equipment. So this is, like I said, this is the one that's pushed to Heroku. But so I went through again and started messing with the database and started adding some equipment in there. And I guess first I'm gonna log out. So again, it's similar view. It's just now these are all pulled from a database, and I have tags on here. So EXCs, excavators, SKDs for skid steers. I haven't got quite the pages set up yet for the equipment information as far as the detailed information or specs. But just like that, or just like the previous one, we have a sales page as well. I just forgot to change the rent me part here, so disregard that. Now, when I log back in, we'll just log into random user here. And if I go back to my rentals, now it actually has my daily, weekly, monthly pricing again. And those are all pulled from the database for that specific piece of equipment. And so that's generally how the website is at the current state. And the registration does work. So if I want to, so we'll say Joe, it's like Joe 123. So now I forgot the redirect there, but maybe if I actually click the button. So. broke my login. Well, apparently on my local machine, I might have broke my login. So let's see here.
Possible that you're logged in, but it just didn't redirect you. Like, do you think if you clicked around?
It's still not.
Uh,
It's all right. I'll figure that one out. But so we'll just pull up a different user here. So yeah, it's still the same thing. So they'll be able to see pricing now that they have a user account. Now on the admin side, it's a little bit different. So part of this is I'm trying to create a shopping cart so people can actually add multiple pieces of equipment, and they'll have a profile page to be able to have the equipment delivered to if they need to. And in the long run, also have customers who can be set up with accounts so they can actually pay on a net 30 or net 60 or whatever they, set up for as far as finance. So this is my model for, log into my actual admin account first. So I have all my equipment here for the rental and sales equipment. So I do have a long description in here that I was planning on using in the main page, along with some additional spec information. I have a standard Boolean for sale. So that's actually, I'll show you in a minute in the code, but I have that filtered on the back end right now. So I don't have to worry about anybody doing anything on my site. They can actually just filter what's needed for them. Other than that, I also created drop downs for makes and categories. So I just made a custom list and put in different brands as well as equipment type. So when I'm actually have an admin coming in, I can hand that task off to pretty much just somebody doing data entry, and they can come in here, fill out as much information as they can. The current field's only limited to 256 characters, whereas this one I don't currently have a max set up for, because I'm going to actually add in additional, spec information, and they can have quite a bit of information in those. So I want to leave that open. And then I also have an image place here where I can actually add on images. Now, I was trying to get to the point where I can add multiple images, and it's easier to do on the front end as far as adding multiple files like in a post, but when you're trying to add it to your model, it seems like it was a little more difficult. So that's on my to-do list for that. So let me find, let's see here. So we'll just say on this one here, currently it's not for sale, but if I just check that, save my model, so that's the ST40. So then when I go back into my site here, go to my equipment sales, now I have 2 pieces of equipment for sale, and they're way overpriced, but it's fairly accurate. All right, so now I'm gonna move over to my code here and kind of show you the models I was dealing with here. So let me scroll up. So yeah, so in my item model here, trying to find a way to get a good list of items. Found a pretty good tutorial online that they were walking through on how to create your own. So you're pretty much, so my category here, just gave it a variable and then said, hey, I want 3 characters. So I just made 3 character shorthands of the categories I wanted. And then it would just go through that list, and whichever one I clicked on would actually populate. So that one, when I figured that out, that was pretty amazing. So I did that same thing for the make and the category. again, the image one was a little bit of a pain to do, mainly for the trying to get it to filter through on my individual items in my list or my database. So I ended up having to change that over to a static because previously I had it going into just an images folder and it wasn't quite working. So changed everything over to a static and now it's been working pretty flawlessly. So pretty happy about that. And some of these other card items and models are currently not in use, but they're part of the future revisions that I'm going to be working with. So I do want to actually make this live and potentially even use it for the businesses that we're currently doing. So, and you know, maybe make some money on it for that as well. So, other than that, so yeah, other when they do bring in the images though, it just goes into a static CSS folder over here. And if there's a duplicate image, it'll just rename it to whatever random characters at the end of it. Trying to think of anything else that I did here. So I did just go with for the views and stuff, I just went to a template system. It was just the easiest thing to do as far as just creating a base. And I guess the one thing that I did not show is the so the website itself is fairly mobile friendly. So I'm just using Flexbox with the Bulma CSS, and as I get smaller here, my nav bar will actually turn into a hamburger button, and then I have some basic JavaScript in there to actually bring that drop down. And then when I go even further, you know, all my other things will line up to the left, and I think once I get to about 400 pixels is where it kind of limits itself, but that's as far as it will let me go anyways. So yeah, that's my app in general. So if you have any questions or anything, let me know.
How did you like working with Bulma?
Honestly, it started out great, but the more I used it, the more I did kind of despised it. You know, I've primarily used Bootstrap in the past. And to me, Bootstrap seemed a little bit easier to use for what I was trying to do. But I, you know, didn't realize that until about halfway through. And the documentation for Bulma is not as necessary, not as thorough as Bootstrap or even like Foundations. So I definitely found it to be a little bit more difficult once you were trying to do some use case scenarios where people weren't actually talking about it. So
Yeah, that was my experience as well. So I was kind of curious.
yeah, but all in all, though, like if you're doing standard pages, I think it works pretty well. But once I started doing or trying to get into like modals and some of these cards, you know, it definitely was a little bit harder to customize compared to the other frameworks.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was probably the moment where actually Pete helped get it online, because we were fighting for, I felt like we probably took up about an hour of the class just on my side alone. And it was the tail end. So we were all kind of stretching our brains trying to figure out what was going on. Because I don't know if you noticed in my code here, let me see. So seeing as I was trying to set it up in a cart form and everything, I have a lot of my, well, I guess it's not, you can't really tell too much right now, but I have my app itself in a sub folder from app, from the standard place where it would be. And then I actually had my manage Pi in a completely different folders that was even further down the down in the directory. So it was, we're having to pull things from one directory and put it in another. And once we actually got it live and it actually brought up my page, that was probably my favorite part of it. It was definitely, it was a moment.
Did that structure bring any actual utility to your website? Like, I get that it made it harder when you're putting on Heroku, but did that actually add some utility to it?
I haven't found the benefit in it quite yet. I guess the benefit of it is, having the separate types of apps in there. So like the store is going to be its own app. So if I break something in that, it's not going to necessarily break my entire site. It would just break that function of it. So in that aspect of it, I think it would be, it's beneficial to make those sub apps. But I haven't come into that point yet because I haven't got the store up and running. But I definitely see how that could be helpful. But as far as like where my folders were lining up and Heroku and stuff, I think a lot of that was more or less my mistake on trying to kind of have a folder for everything. And it worked the way it was locally. But I was even having other problems because I was trying to figure out deployment before that on AWS. And they were kind of saying the same thing where, you has to be built a certain way. And if it's not built that way, and most of them are, having your manage.py in one of the main subdirectories, it would not work. So it's more or less, I guess, experience. I didn't really think of it when I was building it, but now that I've seen it and gone through the painstaking process of trying to get that thing deployed, I'll definitely remember for the next time. So, yeah. But, yeah, there's, like I said, I use some standard jQuery and Font Awesome for some of the icons and the buttons, for like the mail icon for the email and stuff like that. So found some cool little things. So any other questions, comments, concerns?
Good job, man. It looks good.
Thank you.
All right. Last up, we got Fawad.
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. Do you see my page, right?
Yes.
My screen? Somehow I feel like I'm not sharing it, but yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Fawad, and I made a site so that I can sell like some of our own products. Like I'm from Afghanistan originally, and we always feel like shortage of some of our own like local products that we really needed buy over here. So I wanted to make like an app so that I can sell them online. So this is the homepage that everyone can see, and so these are just for example. It's not like real. This is the homepage, and like the customer can sign up, and the sign up is working. yeah, I needed a lot of information for because of the ordering. So yeah, the customer can log in and they can see their profile. On their profile, they will see like a picture of themselves that they can add their pictures, and they will see their orders right over here. So now they can click on each one of them, and I still needed to work on the ordering page, but on the CSS part, but it's working, and it's working when you submit the order. And so also I made like a staff user or a super user that can only have access to that user, and where the staff can see all like delivered pending orders or out for delivery, and also all the orders on the customers and all the customers over here, like the total of the customers, and they can see all the orders right over here. They can edit the order, like they can make it pending, and or also they can delete the order over here from the stuff, and also they can see each customer's orders over here. Like they can click and see like all the orders of each customer. And on the products, they can see all the products, and they can edit the products and also delete the products, or they can add new products over here. Also, I work a little bit on the reset password. It is supposed to be working, but somehow got a problem at the last minute, and I didn't find a chance to fix it. So I only work on the Django part. I don't have a chance to work on the JavaScript, but I really wanted to work on it. To have something with the JavaScript, everything is with everything over here you see is like CSS and JavaScript. I mean CSS and HTML. We did Heroku, like uploaded on Heroku other day, and it's working. Everything is working. Also, that it is working for the. I mean, the sizing is working for the tablets and for the phones. So, in my code. So on the models, I have one like for each for the customers, and I have like separate category, products and orders, and so yeah. And anything question anywhere?
So what kind of JavaScript would you think to implement, like form validation or like dynamic adding or like things like that?
JavaScript, you said?
Yeah.
I didn't add any JavaScript. Everything is in Django.
Yeah, I meant like in future plans.
Oh, and the future plans, I still need to think about it, but I definitely have to I want to finish this up and like wanted to really have like this store online. But yeah, I have to do some researches about it and then add more. I like to have more JavaScript in it.
Huh? Yeah. No, it's that's all good. I was just curious because I mean, JavaScript kind of powers the web, so it's a pretty neat thing to be able to add to your sites. And
Yeah, so
I'm
that's
looking forward to see what you can do with it.
right. I really wanted to have it, but
No, it's fine. I
but
was just
one part I really like working on the CSS. So everything I add was the CSS. Like I've done the CSS part. I think I waste my time on the CSS part, so I didn't have enough time to do on the JavaScript. But yeah, definitely I have to use some JavaScript.
The CSS is super good, man.
it is.
It's real
Your site
nice.
looks really good.
Looks
I was
great.
wondering about these
Yeah,
sort
when
of images right here, how all that works.
So I use like a keyframe. So right over here. So I add them like a keyframes animate. I saw that you can do this in JavaScript. I mean, definitely you can do it, but I did it in the CSS part.
Oh, that's great. Usually when I see something like that, there's a good chance it's like a bootstrap or something. So if you did that animation yourself, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for what? If correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't use any framework at all, right? Like all the CSS is handwritten.
Yeah, so all the CSS is handwritten. So
I respect that. That's awesome.
everything is.
I don't think it was a waste of time. You said earlier you wasted time on CSS, but I don't think it was a waste because it looks really professional. And if you want this to be like an actual store, then it was worth making it look legit, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Somehow,
Also, CSS is hard. I don't think everybody can do CSS.
Yeah, it is hard. Everybody in my class knows that I am not good at it. Yeah, good job, man.
thank you.
Hey, good job, everybody. Those were awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody also got their stuff deployed, as you saw. Technically making this the first class where all students have deployed their capstone, mostly thanks to Pete, so I can't really take credit for that. But I'm proud of my class for that. Fawad, one more question for you, man. I know you still need to implement like a payment system, right? What are your plans
Right.
for that?
It will be JavaScript, but I haven't done any researches about it because I was so tight with the time and was also working on the CSS and Django. But yeah, definitely I will do some researches and do the payments part also.
A pretty common one I see used is Stripe. Might be worth checking out.
Yeah, I was looking at a Stripe for mine, and it seemed like the documentation for it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I've heard Stripe is good. I've never used it. I used PayPal once and Braintree, which like integrated with PayPal. But I've heard Stripe is really good, so I would definitely look at that.
We have to give a shout out to Matt too.
That's right. Yeah, we had a lot of help on CSS stuff, especially, but basically any error or anything, whenever someone like had a problem and would share their screen, it would be like, you know, I would help them because I'm there, but then Matt would be like, I just Googled it. Here's what you do. He would just jump in there.
Thanks for the shout out, guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
it'd
Thanks
just be a
Yeah.
chat notification. He'd just be like, "Yeah, man, check the chat." Like another minute and a half later. Okay, now let's talk about it.
Yeah. And Matt, by the way, is going to be for those who don't know, he's going to be the TA for the upcoming JavaScript course. So that works out well. He got some practice basically for that.